Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word. Joined by Mathew in the Blue Room. It's been far too long, mate.
It's been far too long.
It has.
This place looks amazing now. I can see myself on a screen up here and everything, you know, unfortunately. But no, it's absolutely boss.
Looking sharp, mate, looking sharp.
Good to be back.
It is. It's great to have you back, and it's great to be sat here on a Monday when Everton have won a Premier League game on a Saturday, which is the first time since September the 27th I've been able to sit here on a Monday after Everton have won a Premier League game on a Saturday.
It's mad, isn't it?
That is terrible, isn't it?
It's terrible. It is terrible. But I feel boss. I feel great. You know, I had no sleep last night because I was up watching the Super Bowl, but I'm still bouncing here today.
Oh, you are bouncing.
I can't wait to talk about the Blues for a change.
It's great,
but
isn't it? Obviously, going into this we'd had Frank Lampard had come in just briefly. What were your thoughts on Frank Lampard? Was he? Did you have any reservations or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was one of them where you just sort of shrugged my shoulders by the end.
Did you?
I think I was just a bit worn out by the whole process.
Vita Pereira stuff.
I think when Vita Pereira phoned up Sky, I was a bit like, we are Sunderland, QPR, Villa a few years ago. You know, Newcastle sort of comedy club level. I thought, oh my God, I just want this to end now. And I think of the three that were left, I think he would have been the one I would have gone for, Lampard. But you know, at the time, I was speaking about people like Lucien Favre, who's obviously got a great reputation, and Kovac as well. He was available after getting binned off by Monaco. But you know, you can't argue with what he's done so far, have you? You know, the Newcastle game was a bad one, but you know, I wasn't at the Brentford game. But Saturday, it was just the place was transformed. The performance was different, and it feels like he's tapped into what Evertonians want pretty quickly, and he knows what Everton are about pretty quickly as well. And I think that's come across in what he said, and I think it's come across in the way in which he's tried to get the team to play in those two games at Goodison Park as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. There was other managers available, but you look at the three, and obviously Dunk was one, and you think, okay, I'm Duncan every day of the week over Vita Pereira and maybe other people, but I think Lampard as well. He's an exciting coach just because he's young, and you're looking and thinking, well, we need a freshness. But I've seen a few people moan, it's not like Pep Guardiola sat there and Jurgen Klopp and a couple of others, and you're going, nah, we're going to go over here. It was the way it panned out. But he's come in, he said all the right things, and I think what's impressed a lot of people is also the coaching staff that he's brought in, isn't it? You know, Paul Clement, Joe Edwards, young coach. Obviously, Ashley Cole joined as well. It's
not something you usually pay attention to, is it? That
no.
Apart from when we got Sammy Lee, it was a bit like, you know, that was a bit yikes that time. But otherwise, you know, the sort of people that are names. But yeah, it seems like he's surrounded himself with good people, and obviously as a club we want to grow and we want to develop, we want to get forward, and it feels like he's a manager that sort of wants to make the same sort of journey. He's not someone who's been to the top and is sort of on the way down like Ancelotti or Benitez. You know, we don't know if Frank Lampard's going to be a really good manager or not yet. Hopefully he is, but if he is going to be, he can sort of go on that journey with Everton and this team as it progresses. You know, there's a lot of young players there that he can work with, and it feels like early days. It feels like a good fit. You know, and it was weird at the weekend being in the ground at full time and having a manager come over to the Gladys Street.
Brilliant.
You know, because I think Benitez was obviously very coy about doing that, wasn't he? Because you know, if he'd done it when we'd won and then didn't do it when we get beat, he would have got caught. But you know, it was a bit like, because obviously we've not been in the ground for a long time because of the pandemic. We'd had a manager who was quite standoffish in Benitez, not very popular, and just sort of seeing him come over and give it the fist pumps was a bit like, you know, go ahead. Yeah. You know, you walk off the ground feeling boss and feeling pumped up by it. Yeah.
You know, Koeman. Well, no one even think Koeman like Koeman himself, did he? You know, and Allardyce was never really we were never going to take to that. Marco Silva was a little bit reserved with that rather than throwing himself into it. I think he probably wanted to, but he couldn't for whatever reason. Martinez, we had a bit of that with Martinez, don't get me wrong, but it's soured, hasn't it? So the last one who's really kind of done that was Moyes, and that was because he was there for long enough anyway. You know?
And it was Duncan did it for a bit, didn't he?
I think Duncan absolutely would do it. You know what I mean? But he's never been given the opportunity. Although it was interesting to see Everton play 4-4, Duncan's 4-4-2 at the weekend.
But on the fist pumping and all that, I think, you know, all the people you mentioned there, I think when you get them in and when you get these, you know, quiet, reserved characters in, I think we all sort of talk ourselves into thinking that you know, this could be a good thing for us. You know, maybe someone who's a bit more standoffish, who can be a bit calmer. But I think Goodison Park and Everton, we need that really, don't we? I think someone who engages, someone who gets the fans going, that is us, and that is what we're about. And I think if Everton are going to be successful and get the crowd going, get the team going, it feels like we sort of need that character on the sidelines. I mean, Lampard's not going to be someone who's going to bounce up and down the line every time he scored, I don't think, and jump in the crowd like, you know, someone like Conte did when he was at Chelsea. But just someone who's got that unashamed passion, and he's not trying to hide his happiness, and he'll come over to the fans at the end and give it loads. And when we get beat, he'll come over and clap as well. You know, it feels like that unity and that togetherness is vital for us at the moment.
Absolutely, and we see it from the Llama, don't we, on the other across the party, again, but they love it, he has united them, and that's what we need, I think. And I think you're absolutely right. Frank Lampard will do it. Going into this one, obviously, we'd had the euphoria at Brentford, and it was, oh my God, we won a home game, and it was great. We scored in the first half, and then Newcastle we come crashing down to earth at Newcastle, didn't we? So this one, even though, and I think the managers It's Friday were really good. It was, you know, it's a big game, but it's not the be all and end all. There's a lot, and that's great now because we've won. But at the time, you're thinking, no, but we do need to start winning games quickly. Going into it, he went with a 4-4-2. I think that raised a few eyebrows. And Donny van der Beek came in to the centre of the park. John Joe Kenny in at left back. Obviously, Michalenko still out. So the managers had to make changes because, of course, we lost Amari Graham. We lost Yerry Mina at Newcastle. But the one that I think I've seen a lot of people looking the other way and scratching their heads was obviously Alex Iwobi, who came in. But you know what? The lads who come in, I thought the pair of them were brilliant. Yeah,
they were fantastic. And that wasn't how I thought we were going to line up initially. I sort of thought Coleman would play as part of a back three.
Yeah.
And we'd have Kenny on the right and Iwobi on the left playing wing back. Because Iwobi played against a wing back against Leeds in this fixture last season, didn't he? And didn't have the best of games, I think, it'd be fair to say. But I sort of thought that's what it was going to be. So it was a little bit surprising when they lined up. And, you know, I think everyone sort of said in recent weeks, haven't they, about playing free in midfield and how we need it. And, you know, I was speaking on some of our stuff in the week saying I'm not sure a midfield free of Ali, Van der Beek and Alan would be, you know, sturdy enough for us against Leeds. So I was a little bit concerned when those two were lining up in midfield. But on the lads you mentioned, it's, you know, I don't want to go all in on them and, you know, start the Alex Iwobi fan club by any means or anything like that, because we've had this from before, particularly from Iwobi, haven't we, you know, at the start of the season.
I don't know whether he's ever played this well, though. But we will talk about Iwobi in a bit, but I thought they were brilliant. But one of the things I think was key to this game, that was the fans before the game. You know, obviously, we were all very worried on where, I mean, I didn't know whether I was going to have to go and live with Pep for 3 days after Wednesday just to make sure he was all right after Tuesday night, rather, because everyone was really flat, weren't they, and worried. And the fans, brilliant. I said a couple of things myself on social media about whether we're going to have to make the difference, because to me, these players on their own can't do it. They haven't got the mental fortitude to be able to battle. And everyone was jumping on with their own thing, and the people who've done the atmosphere, done the banners and arranged all that. I think that was key. And just being in the stadium before the game, the siren, and then the cheer I thought it was incredible, and it set the tempo for the day, I thought. Yeah, definitely. Like I got in there early at the weekend, actually saw Ped in the concourse, and we were sort of calmly talking to each other about how the game was going to go. It's going to be all right, mate, don't worry, sort of thing. But yeah, you felt it. It just felt like a big game, and I think because we've been like just a middle of the road team down the years, the fan base has sort of become a little bit dormant. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like people just turn up, they watch the game, and we're never really pushing for a trophy or really pushing for, you know, Champions League. We've never really been in relegation trouble, you know, up until this season. You know, when we've been down there, it's been a bit earlier in the season. We tend to get out of it, haven't we? So I think that's sort of like giving the fan base a bit of like an anaesthetic in a way. We've sort of just become a bit more settled, and I think going into this one, I think the Newcastle game probably made a lot of people get the fear and think we might lose. This is real now, you know, and we are in peril, or we are on the brink of peril here. And I think because of that, it sort of mobilised obviously a lot of groups. I think there's a flyer handed around, wasn't there, in the ground about, you know, getting banners and stuff like that. A lot of organisation on social media,
And I think that it gave people a reason, to go in and get behind them. And, I couldn't see a lot of the flags because where I sit in the Gladys Street, that big, massive yellow one came down right in front of me. But all the pictures and that, it looked boss. And, I think there's always that phrase which I hate. I know you guys do about, being cop-out behaviour and stuff like that. But like when I saw the pictures of the Gladys Street and the rest of the ground after the game, it looked very Everton. It looked like those pictures of Wembley with flags down there, down the ears, and it's not orchestrated. It's not dead neat and tidy with everyone having the same sort of scarf and the same sort of message. It's all a bit scattered and a bit messy and a bit raw. That's Everton, isn't it? Now, yeah. That's Everton, and I think that sums it up. And
what's funny about that cop-out behaviour phrase is, in the 80s, the Gladys Street was often like that in games. There was big game, cup ties, there was banners, there was flag. We used to take one ourselves, maybe mates from school and put it on the front, and people would have flag. It wasn't like all flag waving, but people you'd be there, and it wasn't all the time, but it was certain games. And then I think what's happened is over the years, is that we've played less and less big games. They've played more and more big games, and it's become an occasion. And so every time you see something, it's them in a big game with the cop full of all of that, and it's become, that's cop out. We don't do that. And yet we very much did do that in the 80s when, I don't know whether we did it earlier than that, because obviously I don't know, but as a kid in the 80s, that we did. People had hats on, scar, bobble hats. It was blue and white. It was, when you're engaged in them big games, it became raucous. And I think you're right, we've almost kind of like flatlined in a way as a fan base of like, this is crap, we're a bit crap. And you can't blame anyone for that, because you're getting let down so often. That why are you going to be like that? But I think you're right. I think everyone got the smelling salts at them after Newcastle, and it was like, hang on, we need to engage. And I think right from the first whistle, we had an opportunity after 30 seconds, Andy Gordon. And I think if he just hits it first time, he may score, but he took a touch and allows the lad to come in. And I could see him thinking, that was a big chance straight from the kick-off. But I felt that set the tempo then, because the crowd were up immediately again, and they never really stopped after that.
100%, mate. It's, that chance comes from us pressing high on the right-hand side, doesn't it? And I think Dom gets the ball, plays it out to Gordon, and you're right, he probably should do a bit better. It's a great tackle from Aylan, but I think Gordon deserves a lot of credit, actually, for the way in which he responded after that.
Super.
Because a lot of young players, a lot of players, if you miss a chance that big in a game of this magnitude, when it's your team, and when it's your team as well, like it is for him, it means so much to him. And, I think he set the tone in those 20 minutes. And the first 20 minutes were mental, weren't they? Like, it was an absolute whirlwind. Yeah. And I think he was the one who was getting on the front foot. He was leading the press. He won the ball back a few times. There was that tackle in midfield, wasn't there, where he won it once, and then I think the Leeds midfielder comes across to try and get it, and he's straight into him again, and he carries on, and I think that's where. And
we love a tackle, like a goal, don't we?
Like and he knows that better than anyone, doesn't he? But I think he really set the tone after that, at a point where he could have hid and have been a bit, I've missed a big chance here. I don't necessarily want the ball. I don't want to get stuck in, and I think that's where his game's obviously improved a lot recently, because he's being productive now. He's come away from that game at the weekend with an assist and a goal.
And a goal,
and he could have had another one, but I remember looking at him at times when he first broke through, and maybe early this season, and think, you've got the ability, but I think Ancelotti said it himself, didn't he? He needs to do more off the ball.
And as much as it pains me, we have to give Rafa Benitez some credit, because I think tactically he's worked on him. I think Anthony Gordon deserved loads of credit, because he's gone and got a personal trainer and he's doing his own work away. But I think Benitez tactically has helped him, and hopefully now Frank Lampard will benefit from it. But
it sort of feels like now, and it's a small sample size obviously, but these first two home games, it feels like he's sort of off the leash with it now, and he can go. Look at the goals we've scored against Brentford. He wins the ball back, doesn't he, for the corner, which Holgate scores from, and obviously with Charleston for our second goal at the weekend. But it feels like playing in a high intensity pressing style is going to suit Anthony Gordon even more. And I think
so,
he really set the tone in those first few minutes. But everyone was at it, wasn't it?
Do you think we took Leeds by surprise with how intense they were, and with the crowd?
Definitely. And I think, I don't know if this was like a specific ploy from the manager, but it felt like, to me, he said to them, go and empty the tank in those first 20-25 minutes. Just run and kick and do as much as you can and put as much into it. It'd be a bit like, you know, like a 1500 metre race.
Yeah.
It'd be like someone going off on the first lap in front of the home fans and going, just get in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And the
Catch
crowd,
me if you can.
Yeah, the crowd will carry you through. Then
Yeah.
the next three are going to hurt, like anything.
Yeah.
But the support of the people behind you and the gap you've got is going to help you.
Yeah.
And it just sort of felt like that because, you know, we said before, didn't we? Gordon on 20 minutes was on his haunches, wasn't he? Blowing. And I think there are a few players like that. But I think you're right. I think that did catch Leeds by surprise. And I think that's clever management, isn't it? Because he would have been aware there would have been, you know, effort to get the atmosphere going. He would have felt it in the build up to the game. And I think it was almost as if he said, well, go and ride that wave of emotion in those first 20 minutes.
I noticed in his press conference he said he could feel it in the dressing room that they were on it. And it'd been mentioned, hadn't it, in the press conference, the people trying to get the atmosphere going. He was like, well, and you'd be with it, you know, it's really good. But we got the goal 10 minutes in, and it was actually a really good goal, to be fair. And, you know, the move was lovely. Seamus Coleman over on the right-hand side comes in, knocks it in. It's a lovely little interchange. The first time ball by Anthony Gordon round the corner's fantastic. And it's Van der Beek who rolls it across. And it's a brilliant tackle on Dom, actually. He's about to tap it in. And I don't know whether it's Struijk or Ailing. One of them
was Llorente, wasn't it?
Llorente? Yeah. Brilliant tackle. But Seamus Coleman, alive, follows it in. Because if he doesn't go in there, that goes out for a corner. The opportunity's gone. He follows it in and he gets himself a header on the goal line. And that's exactly what we needed, wasn't it?
It feels like he used to score that goal like 2 or 3 times a season.
Exactly.
I think his last goal for us was a diving header, wasn't it?
Header, just knocking
at the Gladys Street End,
It
was against Burnley, yeah. I think he scored a few diving headers for us. I remember him scoring one against Spurs very early on in his career at the Gladys Street End as well. But no, it and again that comes from us being positive. I think it's Kenny who beats Rafinha, doesn't he? And puts a cross in with the outside of his foot and it goes just over Dom's head. And then we're back in on them, and we're winning it back. And you know, Coleman's involved in the build-up as well, isn't he? And I think probably if Dom's got a couple more games under his belt, he's probably in front of the defender there and scores. But you know, you like see it there, can't you? How much it meant to him. And listen, as a elite or top level fullback now, he's probably not quite there. No. But it would be nice, I think, if he could sort of. I think we could probably use him in a way we used Jagielka towards the end of his time at Everton. Whereas, you know, not necessarily the first choice player, but with Jags, if he's been out of the team for 10, 15 matches, you know, you could always just say, if we had a crisis or we needed him, you could drop him back in there. And he'd be sound. You know, he was a great sort of parachute player. You could just put him in the team and he did really well. And I think...
And we did that with Baines in a way, with Dean as well, didn't we?
And I think he's still got a role to play, but... This season, he's just been run into the ground at a time in his career when he shouldn't have been. But it was just a great moment for him, wasn't it? And
I think I've said before, it's never his attitude that it's his body that lets him down, because he's been playing in the Premier League for so long and running up and down at nearly 34 on a pitch in an intense league. It's so difficult, and you know, he's been fantastic and he always will be. You know, he's a great Everton person, isn't he? Loves the club, you can see that there, and hopefully he'll be involved in Nathan Patterson's development, and we can have that 100%. Crossover where he is a sub, but like you say, for 6-7 games a season you might have to drop him in. He can come in and he can give everything because he knows he's going to get his rest, and whereas right now we're having to play him because needs must. But it was a great moment.
And I think it was interesting that I think Lampard spoke about his defending after the game as well, and you know, Iwobi had a really good game playing off that right hand side, but there wasn't really much in terms of like attack and link up between the two. I think Coleman just sort of held his position, didn't he, and was like, I'm going to be solid. And
after the goal, he did kind of retreat and became a made sure, because John Joe Kenny, madly, was the one who was over, you know, was attacking more, wasn't he, on the other side. So that was a great start. And then what was really impressed was what we've seen. I mean, it was a goal in the first half of a home game in the Premier League, I think, for the first time since Watford back in October, which is outrageously bad, isn't it? But it is what it is.
Positivity.
But exactly. But what Everton had done in those kind of games was then go and retreat and let the Leeds, they would have let Leeds have the ball, and they didn't. They went after them again, and it knocked Leeds right out of their stride. In fact, I was looking at them and they seemed to not be able to get out at all. You know, trying to play it out from the back. We'd go and win it, like you said before. We lose it, we go and get it back. And It leads to the Charlison doing brilliantly, great work to win a corner from nothing. And then Andy Gordon puts the cross in, and the much maligned Michael Keane with an absolute beast of a header for 2-0.
I bet you looked at the linesman when
100%.
Gordon's corner
I was thinking, see it that out, and then I'm thinking, is there a push because we've headed the corner in?
I was thinking that's gone out of play. And when I watched the highlights back that night, I looked and thought, it's quite close again, you know.
But yes, but the thing,
so I think a lot of important things happened actually between the two goals. Because Holgate makes that tackle, doesn't he?
There's a brilliant tackle on Dan James in the box where he gets that wrong to penalty, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Rodrigo hits the bar with that unbelievable effort, and then obviously nearly did it again a bit later.
Yeah. But that was mad, that one though, wasn't it? Because that just come out the air and it sat up for him, so he just took his shot. And we did have that bit of luck, of course we did. But we didn't have any luck at Newcastle on Tuesday. So
I know. But I think as well, you know, we were saying about them looking a bit tired after 20 minutes or so. I think Stuart Dallas gets injured, and the play stops. And I remember thinking just before that, like, they're showing a little bit more. We're starting to look a little bit tired. The shape was getting, the pressing wasn't quite as full on. And I think that drinks break, or not drinks break, the injury, like a lot of the players just sort of got over, and Lampard was talking to them and settling them down. And obviously you don't know what they said in that point, but it just felt like a good little moment for us to reset.
Yeah, I think you do need to get your breath back against Leeds, because the one thing you'd have to say about Leeds is they don't stop. They're absolute madmen. And they don't stop running. They run and run and run and run and run, and they keep doing the same thing. So you do have to kind of like, it's hard to keep up with these, but I think you're right, the reset of that just give us that intensity to go again.
Yeah, and maybe Richarlison doesn't go quite as high up to win that, you know, stop that break.
Exactly.
But no, it's just, you know, Michael Keane should score more of them, shouldn't he?
Funny enough, I was saying to the lad next to me, to people around me, it's about time Keane heads one of these in, isn't it? Yeah. And the corner comes in, he bullets it in, and everyone's laughing.
Have all of his goals come at the Park End? I can't ever remember him scoring for Gladys Street.
I can't remember him.
He scored quite a few for us now down the years, but it feels like they're all at that end anyway.
That was his 10th, I think, for Everton in the league, I think.
But another one who's, you know, a lot of people jumped on his back, didn't they, in the week when that message came out from the club about, well, he was talking about how, you know, they need confidence and stuff like that, and, you know, people got on his case, and he's another one. You know, he's had a pretty poor season. You know, one good game doesn't change that round, but it's a start. And again, Lampard was speaking very glowingly about him afterwards. But
he was good, to be fair. He was good against Brentford. He had Tony. Tony didn't do anything against him. He had to go. He's weird, Michael Keane. He's either an 8 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. You don't get the 6 from him, really, because he's the most, I've said this to a million people, what you'll know, I've said this a million times, but he's the only player who you can see confidence drain from. Like, you can literally see him go, he's gone. His confidence is gone. But when he's on it, he's a solid defender who can give you that, and it was a great header. It was a great header,
he bullies him, doesn't he? He completely bullies him. Like, he doesn't leap off the ground, Keane, does he? Like, in a way similar to probably what me and him as well, actually.
And he should for the size of him.
But he just gets up early, doesn't he, and uses his frame to get it in. But
the third set-piece goal in, well, fourth if you include the Newcastle one, really, but, you know, and Paul Clements, Frank Lampard did name-check Clement for the set-piece stuff, and it's a key aspect, isn't it, that we've just not got right enough times, have we?
Oh, no. It's
certainly under Benitez, we were dreadful in both boxes.
Oh, there were times where it was like, you know, you get a corner and we sit down. You sit down because you think nothing's going to come of it, but no, and I think they were pointing out on one of the highlights I was watching that it was sort of like, it looked like a routine on the training ground, and they've all obviously gone to the back post, and Gordon's whipped that ball in, but no, it's, you know, I remember when we used to talk about Martinez saying about how it used to be, what did he call it? Parasite goals, parasite football, you know. I'm all over that. I absolutely
give me 16 more wins this season with parasite football, yes please.
But like I said, I think it came at a really important time for us, because I think then, when you're 2-0 up and you've got that cushion, they went again then. And, you know, we could have put the game. There's no word of a lie. We could have been 5 up at the break. We had, you know, Gordon had the shot, which Meslier made a good save, and he should save it, but it's a good save. We'd had a couple had a fizzed across the box. Charlison has one blocked. Dom has one saved.
Dom has it's a brilliant ball by Iwobi, that little one round the corner. And Dom, we don't see that enough from Dom. Maybe it's because we don't give him them balls, but he spins off the defender, hits it back, and Meslier makes another good save from it. And at that moment, everyone's up, the cheer, you're going, this is fantastic.
And then they hit the ball.
And then Rodrigo reminds everybody that if you give him time and space, which we did, and it's more, the first one was a hit and hope, the one that hit the bar. The second one was quality, just put it, bent it, and Everton get a huge slice of luck, and rightly so. We've had enough, underside of the bar and out. And
but it's one of them, isn't it? Like, if you flip that around and we're Ellen Road and we've done that, and you go in 2-0 down at half time, you can't complain, because Everton were, and this was throughout the entire game, Everton were comprehensively better than Leeds. Yeah. If you make a checklist of all the things you want to see from a good footballing performance, quality on the ball, work rate, defence, all those things, and you say which team was better today, Everton were better in every single aspect. And in the Premier League, it's hard to remember a time when, the last time that happened. Even going back to the start of the season when we played Southampton and Burnley at home and Norwich, there wasn't much in the games, was there?
No,
Everton
moments, wasn't
Everton
there?
had better quality in both boxes, you'd say, but we never really controlled them. But on Saturday, I think the way in which the team pressed, the way in which they used the ball, it was they were just miles better. They levered them really, and even though they hit the bar twice, it wasn't from like spells of pressure where we were hacking it away and pinned down. It was just like you said, a good player getting it on his left foot to a space and being unlucky on 2 occasions. Leeds throughout the game never really got on top of Everton at all, and
I think credit, isn't it?
It's credit to us, yeah.
It was a rarity. They got a standing ovation at half time, which we've not seen many of that this season.
The row where I was on was full. Everyone was still. Usually people are going down for a bevy and stuff.
I think people were just enjoying it. The fans were brilliant. People were enjoying it, and obviously they made changes. And I was surprised Rafinha come off. I thought he was injured, and the manager said after it was a tactical decision. Okay, fine. He made a couple of changes. He brought Tyler Roberts on as well at half time, and then you just think, you're looking at it and going, right, first 15, let's not do anything silly, because let's try and keep. And we didn't. We were in. Yeah, you just said it then, summed it up brilliantly. We were in total control because we were just better than them in every area, weren't we? And that 15 minutes passed with very little to worry about, really. And then we kind of went again. And was that part, you think, down to Donny van der Beek and Allen in particular, making sure they kept hold of that midfield, but in particular Van der Beek, just because neat and tidy with his passing, get it, knock it, and just kept us ticking over a little bit.
I think those two are more prominent in the first half, Alan and Van der Beek.
Yeah.
Like I think it felt like they hadn't, I've not seen any stats or anything, but it felt like they had like more touches.
He did. Van der Beek did in the first half.
Yeah.
I think it was 27 in the first half and something like 16 in the second half of passing. But
yeah, I think the first half, you said, look, the three players I say really got us going were Gordon, Alan and Van der Beek. Yeah. And I think that spell in the second half, when you mentioned where not much really happened, I think the front two were really good at that point in the game. And Richarlison, Dom thought grew into it as he went on. He looked a little bit rusty at the start, but he did grow into it. But it just
held it up well.
Yeah, it just became the sort of match that Richarlison loves, I think. And I think he's so good at this that when he can isolate himself against the centre back and he can figure him out throughout the course of the game. And he did that with that Llorente, and if he played in that left channel, it was right in front of where I sit in the Garter Street, and it just felt like throughout the course of the game, he just worked out how to get the better of him time after time. There were opportunities where he got in behind him, but he dropped off. Where there's a bouncing ball, and he was doing that thing where he runs in front of someone and spins behind him and just unsettling them all the time. And I think he's great at that when he can get a defender one-on-one. Because he's got the physicality, he's got the speed, he's got good technical ability, and it just felt like from that point on we were probably going a bit more direct because Alan is not necessarily the most mobile. Van der Beek hasn't played 90 minutes in the Premier League since he came to this country, so I think he was obviously going to fade a little bit, and we just started knocking it a bit longer to those two, and Dom was winning the headers,
and that was fine. Wasn't
it? 100%.
That hybrid of the football, which is like. I don't think we should get obsessed with one way or the other. This like you've got to play out from the back and play through the thirds, and we've got to. That to me, I don't think that's Everton. I think we're kind of like, it's a reference like what Liverpool do. They don't play like Man City, but they still play nice footy. But they're also when it's on, they don't half bang it long. But you can catch the opposition out like that. And I think you're right. I think that's what we did second half. A little bit more direct to Dom, and he was winning flicks, and if he wasn't winning it, he was making sure they didn't get clean headers. And you never give the opposition the chance to build up any kind of momentum because they're spending half the time heading it out. And the amount of times they hit a ball out a touch rather than find their own players, you know, and it was because we were on it.
And it's the atmosphere as well. And the contributes to that, doesn't it? You know, it's
the booing when they were passing it around. I mean, Everton, I haven't heard Evertonians do that for ages. Just whistling and booing it. It sounds silly at times, but it affects you when you're the opposition, especially when you're behind. It's like you're roaring when players are pressing. It makes you jittery. You could see them kicking it out.
And you know, what said about Gordon before, about how it sort of felt like he was off the leash a little bit. Now he can go and press. I think the person who I think that benefited the most was Iwobi.
Yeah.
Because I think when you've got like a manager like Benitez or Ancelotti, who are quite cautious and you know want to keep the shape and all that, and you've got raucous Goodison that wants to see the players go full on.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes you can sort of see the gears in the players' heads churn a little bit. Like when the ball comes, say the opposition goalkeeper plays it out to a centre back, and he plays it out to the left back, and you've got our winger, and he's thinking, do we go? Or do we stay? Because the fans want me to go, and the manager probably wants me to stay and keep the shape. Yeah. And I think sometimes with Iwobi, you can almost see him stop, and he thinks, what should I do? Whereas at the weekend, it was like, as soon as the defender got the ball and it was out to their left back, bang, straight across, and everyone went with him. Yeah. And I think that's partly due to the atmosphere, obviously, but it's partly due to the fact that the manager's saying, you've got to get on the front foot. Yeah. If you get on the front foot, you know, your legs are going to be hurting, it's going to be tough at times, but you know, this crowd will get behind you. And I think that affected Leeds a lot throughout the game.
We love, as fans, a team that does that, don't we? As a kid, seeing that 80s, mid-80s team, that's what they did. Didn't call it pressing then, it was like hunting in packs. We used to say it was pressing. But that's what they do. Yeah. And by doing it, you force some mistakes. And I think for me, that's what we did brilliantly. And Lampard's kind of tapped into that. He said it in intensity, press from the front. I think what Everton, when we tried to do it in the past, where we've done it wrong is you go and press and I don't. And so people play around you and then you're out of position. Then I try to get in, they play around me and they're away. Whereas what we were doing on Saturday was they were all going. Yeah. And therefore Leeds were struggling to try to play through and ended up sometimes shanking it out for a throw-in or going back to the keeper and it's starting again. And we never really we never dropped off doing that. And if we did, we made sure we were in our shape and let them knock it down the back before we engaged them. And
that's why, whatever Everton do and whatever they do with regards to managers, they need someone who's going to play like that at Goodison.
Yeah.
Because you know, that's how you harness a positive Goodison. You know, that's how you get the best out of us as fans. Well, it's probably the same for every set of fans in the country and stadium. You know, everyone wants to see the team on the front foot, don't they? You know, of course, there are little nuances that differ between team and team, but to get the best out of that stadium, you've got to try and be on the front foot and you've got to try and be positive at home. And if you do that, then Goodison can be a force for good.
But do you think under Ancelotti and under Benitez, because they are more pragmatic and more cautious as well, that it's a reason why our home form, as I know it's a hard one for Ancelotti because there's no crowd. So, but even when you're at home, no, the onus is on you. Even whether Goodison's like that behind you, empty, like it was for a year, or whether it's full. I always felt with the home, because away from home, with under Ancelotti, we won 11 away games with the most we've won, and we allowed the opposition to have the ball and we played in the counter-attack. I think when you do that at home, it's harder to try to get into the game. Benitez did that. So every home game, we've sat in our seats and the opposition had the ball, and you'd just be going, you're letting these settle into this game.
100%.
You're letting them calm everything down and play the way they want to. And if they're a better organised team than us, they'll beat us. And I noticed that with like West Ham at home this season, even though the game was tight and it was decided by a corner. You know, could have been the other end. We had chances at the other end. But we did that for the first 10 minutes. West Ham had the ball. And I was like, they should be coming here, kicking it out for throw-ins and being nervous. And we're not.
To play that way, you've got to get results, haven't you?
Exactly.
And what was happening, Everton were playing, you know, results football under Benitez without the results.
Without the results,
And that's, you know, if you're going to play in a way which is not engaging for supporters, you've got to engage them by winning football matches and picking up points. And we weren't doing that. So, listen, there's probably going to be times between now and the end of the season where Everton press like they did against Leeds.
And it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work.
Course,
and a better side might play through us, but that's got to be the blueprint at Goodison. It's, it might not be that mad all the time, because like we said, the first 20 minutes were absolutely insane. But
but if you can do that, you can knock teams out the stride, can't you?
Oh, massively. Look at them across the park from us. That's what they do every game, isn't it? Teams come to Anfield and they're on them straight away, and their head's spinning, and they've got the quality to capitalise. But you've got to make teams feel uncomfortable at Goodison Park. You can't let teams come to Everton and just settle into the game, because we saw, didn't we? The atmosphere was always going to be good going into this game at the weekend. But the reason why it was so good was because of how the players went. Because they harnessed the energy of the fans, and the fans fed off them. That's how it's got to be. We've always got to have a manager that wants to be on the front foot at Goodison. And we've got how many years have we got left at this place now? Two, 3 years.
Not two. No, 2 it is. Yeah.
2. Let's make the most of it. And to make the most of it, and to harness the power of people going to Goodison and thinking, this is one of the last times I walk through these doors. I've got to make the most of it. Yeah. Be positive and get on the front foot. That's how it's got to be. It can't be standing off and letting teams have the ball and saying, just knock it round. We've got to be on the front foot, and that doesn't necessarily mean dominating the ball, because I think Leeds had more possession than they the weekend.
I'm surprised that they did. Yeah. They had 58%. I was really surprised.
It's the intensity, isn't it? Yeah. It's all about getting to the ball, all about shutting down. And Everton played some great stuff when they got it.
But we had 60%. 61% at Newcastle the other night, and we got beat.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Exactly.
We got the third goal. Yeah. We got the third goal, and if there was one little thing I'm a little bit disappointed about, it's the fact it wasn't a Charlison's goal. Made up for Anthony Gordon, but it wasn't as if he knew what it just hit him. But I think his performance, and I think the fact he needs goals, is the only little thing that it's taken off for Charlison. But it was a good goal. He rolls his foot over it, and it's a good ball by Allen to initially carrying it forward, and he cuts in and hits a shot, and it nicks off Anthony Gordon and goes in. And I don't know about you, but when the referee was like that, I was thinking, is he offside here? When
do you know what? I sit right behind, so right in line with it. So as soon as he had the shot, like me and my dad knew that it was Gordon's goal.
Did you? I didn't see
a flick off him. But it was mad, because it doesn't really, the deflection doesn't really change course of the ball. No. It just sort of hits him but carries on.
Carries on the shape.
It's almost like an edge in cricket, like a tiny little feather nick, through. It was like that. Like, it didn't really change course, but maybe Richarlison should just do it against Arsenal, just pretend that he scored. Because after the game, he had the hat-trick. He's like, I got 3 today. Maybe just do that. But
it's a great assist. That's what he's got to look at. But that just gave us what we needed, didn't it? The roof came off, and it was like,
party time now, isn't
it? These don't look like they've got anything in it to come back. And you started seeing, obviously he was able then to put Dele on, who I thought to be on. Well, he was on when he scored anyway, isn't he? But I thought he actually did quite well when he come on. He looked a lot sharper. I know it was for a lot less time, of course, but he went up front, didn't he, and won a few headers, and his hold-up play was quite good. He got involved.
The pass to Rondon was incredible.
Rondon was able to come on and do the thing that he was brought to the club to do initially, which was last 10 minutes, give the strikers a breather. And he knocked him, he put himself about. I thought he was all right. But
he came on and did he looked rapid. He sprinted over to their left back to shut it down.
You can think about it, right? When he come, and I'd chase him tomorrow, but when he came, he hadn't played for months. And he was brought initially to be a sub for Dom with 15 minutes to go. And we had to play him 90 minutes, and he was dreadful. He couldn't run, he wasn't sharp or anything. But maybe now, because he can put the 90 minutes into 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then he can be a little bit of a nuisance. And his volley was brilliant. It was a great, but I was right behind it because I sit in the upper Bullens, and you could see the pass by Dele was unbelievable.
It was like Rudy Van Persie,
wasn't it? It was unbelievable, and the volley was brilliant, and the save by Meslier was incredible, and that would have literally been the full cherry bopped on the top of the plate, on the top of the cake, wouldn't it?
Would have been wonderful.
Because it was a great it was a brilliant move, wasn't it?
Unbelievable save. Watching it back on Match of the Day, I don't think it sort of does justice to how well Rondon hits it. He absolutely levers the cover off the ball, and he does well. But Ali, I think you're right. He sort of just, I think his first couple of touches were a bit loose, weren't they? But he did grow into it. And
what are your thoughts on him? Because I've seen a lot of people. Some Evertonians are made up, and I've seen it, and it's not really Evertonians, to be honest. It's other people talking about him. But I just look and think, we don't have to pay anything till next season because.
Well, according to Sky, we've already paid 40 million for him.
Yeah, but exactly, yeah. And you know, if we get to 40 million, then we've won the Tour de France and the World Crucible. We've won at the Crucible and everything.
Doing a lap round Goodison in his yellow jersey.
Exactly, you know, that's what it is. All the kit is on. But I just think he's 25, 26 till April. He's a good footballer. If Everton can get him close to what he was at Spurs, they're going to have a hell of a player on their hands. We couldn't have got him possibly 2 years ago. No chance he was ever coming to Everton Football Club. So if we can get him going again, he's going to be I think he could be an important player for Everton.
Yeah, I think it's a really good deal. If Everton had gone out and spent 30 million on him
straight off the bat,
I would have been a bit like, well, we've not really learned.
Gamble,
you know, that would have been a big gamble, I think, because he's going to be on a decent salary as well, isn't he?
Of course he is.
He feels like someone that the footy's just chewed up and spat out a little bit in recent years. Like, do you remember when he first came through and like the Dele Alli wave was a thing?
Oh yeah.
And he was like this innocent, fresh-faced player, and everyone he used to wind opposition fans up just by being seemingly a dead nice kid who's fresh-faced, who just seems to be enjoying himself so much on the football pitch.
Doing his fortnight celebration. Half of his celebrations are in fortnight.
He used to make up celebrations. You know, he used to play with this sort of innocence and joy, and it seemed to, you know, piss a lot of people off. I don't really understand why, but it just feels like down the year. I think
Marino's killed him.
Yeah, a little bit.
And listen, it's not all. I'm not. The player has to take some responsibility.
Yeah, I think Pochettino was obviously sort of like his guiding light, wasn't he, for him? But he just looks like someone who needed a change, doesn't he? I was surprised actually when it was the first time I'd seen him in the flesh on Saturday, but I feel like he's bulked up quite a lot, and I don't really know if that's a Mourinho thing or. Because remember Ross Barkley did the same when he came through, and he had that sort of same like elegance on the ball, and he was quite quick. He could move, and then he got a bit too obsessed with being physical, and he got too massive. And don't get me wrong, Ali doesn't look overweight or anything like that, but he just looks like he's put on a bit.
That muscle, yeah.
I think Nuno wanted him to play as a centre mid, didn't he, at the start of the season? And Mourinho obviously likes his players to be physical anyway. But it just feels like he needs to sort of try and get back to just being that lad who just enjoys footy, who waves at the camera sometimes and enjoys it.
The box and stuff,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And
Lampard might be the perfect man to do it for him.
Maybe you'll be able to tap into the fact that when he was growing up and enjoying his football, Lampard was the fella he was watching on the telly scoring all those goals and thinking, wow, I wouldn't mind being like him.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if he got that enjoyment back. Obviously, he's already got a song as well, which I'm still struggling to get the words to myself at the weekend. But people are gonna back him because I think it's obvious what we could have if it does work out for him. Because like you said, still 25 and he scored some belts as Goodison, didn't he?
He was always. I mean, there's a thing for us. If we took him out and being able to put the ball in the net past us. Yeah. We also got to see El Ghazi for the last whatever it was, and he's a big lad.
He's so tall, isn't he?
I couldn't believe it. He was that big, and you know that'll do him good making his debut. And that was another thing I think Saturday as well. I thought was bringing like that kind of those players off the bench. I know El Ghazi's on loan, so you know it's not our play, but being able to bring Dele on, being able to bring El Ghazi on, you know, it's like gives you that even with the plays we've got out. That's why you look and you think, if we can just repeat these performances in terms of intensity, we'll be all right this season because we do have the quality. I seen Rio Ferdinand at Thursday, I think. I didn't see him. I wasn't walking down the street and bumped into him. I seen he'd said there's no way Everton that it'll go in any kind of trouble because the front two they've got, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, he said like it's better than anyone in the bottom half. And it'll get them enough points. And then he mentioned about the quality in the rest of the squad. Now, I know a lot of people might question that. I think it's more mental with Everton than actual technical ability. I think if you go through certainly Everton have got about 16, 17 players that are probably good enough to be pushing for like maybe a conference place, seventh. But
in the forward positions, there's a lot of variety there, isn't there? You know, I think we're obviously a bit light in defensive midfield and defence at the moment, but you know, look at Damari Gray wasn't even in the squad at the weekend, and you know it's
no Decore, no Ben Godfrey, no Yerry Mina, big players.
We haven't got probably a world class operator in there by any means, but we've got there's enough there for him to build not only a good starting 11 that he can rely on and go to, but if you want to change things up a little bit as well for different, you know, if he wants to go to Southampton at the weekend and say, well, actually, so-and-so is a good player in this position. I might need to cover maybe you play Townsend there who can run back a little bit. You know, there's options there. So, I mean, we shouldn't be in the position we're in. Like, it's insane.
Not with the talent that's there, but if you haven't put if you haven't got the mental attitude, which they haven't had this season, you have to say that, and you've got a manager that doesn't really want to attack anyway. Yeah. You're kind of fighting with one hand behind your back, aren't you? And hoping for the knockout punch.
It's good in that sense, isn't it? That in the first 2 home games we've had in particular, that we've got instant reward for moments of hard work. So, you know, the moment with Gordon against Brentford and Richarlison at the weekend, you know, those 2 things have shown that if you put the graft in, you're going to get.
Well, he's got evidence.
You're going to get the result. Look what happens when you do it.
Exactly. You're sat down and it's the players' meeting. Go look, because you did that, we done that, and they see it then and go, actually, the manager's right. Whereas someone's telling you, if we do this run, it'll work, and you're not seeing it, you'd be like that. And they all look like, at the moment, it's very early, they all look like they're buying in, don't they? So yeah, a brilliant win. We touched on them before, but let's have a look at, first of all, let's have a look at John Joe Kenny's stats on the weekend, because playing left back, a lot of people would have been scratching their head. And
it's like Charles Cancelo.
Exactly. So here he is. He had 55 touches of the ball, 85% passing accuracy, 2 key passes, 2 tackles, and he won 60% of his duels. And they're obviously just some basic numbers, but I think overall, I think John Joe Kenny had an excellent game and just stuck to his job. Really stuck to the task, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it suited him playing against Rafinha, sort of being a right footer on the left, because he obviously always looks to cut in, doesn't he? And he could shut that. Him, now, there were a couple of times when he sort of scampered away from him, but I think there's one very early on. But other than that, he seemed to control him really well. But
he loves to tackle as well, and he likes to engage, doesn't he?
And he you know, there's that video of him that's been doing the rounds, isn't it, of him celebrating Coleman's goal after it goes in. You know, you can see how much it means to him. You know, someone who's come through this club, who's captained youth teams, it's won stuff at a youth level that, you know, we all thought was going to be a mainstay of the team for a long time, and it's not quite worked out for him. But you know, he came in and did a really good job, you know, really good job, and you just wonder maybe in a similar way to the Ben Godfrey looks better at left back than right back. That just by being a right footer on the left, he's just got to strip it down to the basics and just you know, just win the ball. Give it back simple. Yeah. But saying that, there were moments of real quality.
He done 2 Cruyffs in the corner, which were brilliant.
And you know, that cross with the outside of his foot.
Outrageous, wasn't it?
And I think after one of his Cruyff turns, he gets it. He gets past Rafinha, and he's got another Leeds player coming towards him. And he just pops it through the 2 of them to Gordon. Box, and you know, listen, he's obviously got a big decision to make, hasn't he, now, for himself, in regards to whether the club have got to make a decision if they're going to give him a new contract or not, and he's got to make a decision if he wants to be effectively a player that's going to come in when we're short on either side. Yeah. I don't know what I'll do personally, but you know, but based on the weekend, he can have an opportunity, and you know, depending on what happens with Mykolenko, he might not necessarily settle in straight away. Obviously, he's out at the moment. He might get a little run now, and who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen? But just made up for him, and you could just see how much it means to him. You know, he's one of those players that celebrates tackles and stuff, isn't he? Yeah. Always great in my book, but no, he did a great job, and it was nice to see a nice little link up between him and Gordon on the left-hand side.
Defo was two lads obviously come through the academy. Another player there we've mentioned before, but there's someone who come in and really took his chance at the weekend was Alex Iwobi, who, you know, we spoke about obviously in the game, but done a lot of stuff off the ball, which is sometimes it's intangible. You look at you know, we done this and he did that. He didn't go round 3 men and square it for a tap in or whatever, but he was in shape and working hard and pressing and making them make mistakes. Let's have a look at his numbers from the weekend. 62 touches, passing accuracy 85%, key passes 5, tackles 3. And he won 6 out of 13 duels, so just probably around half of his duels, which is incredible. I mean, the tackles 3. Leeds United put 3 tackles in against Aston Villa as a team in midweek. Really? Only 3 tackles, which shows you about the pressing, the quality of the pressing. If you don't have to tackle. But Alex Iwobi, one of them, One of them, he let the kid know he was there, put it that way. I've never seen him do that in my life. And Ellen flying in, everyone.
I think that was just after the Gladys just sung his name.
Exactly, he just got that adrenaline.
Carried away, yeah.
Just ran like a loon, didn't he? But in general, he worked his socks off for the team, didn't he? And was instrumental, really, because if you see him doing it, you're going to, hang on, is that a Iwobi? I better do it then. And there was that thing, wasn't there, Seamus Coleman at the end, went up to him and grabbed the badge and pointed to him with the badge, just kind of say, that's like, what...
Say, good on you, lad, didn't he? Something like that.
Because he had the street end singing his name, and I thought that was brilliant by the street end as well. Just he's much maligned, Alex Iwobi, and no one will forget his video from getting on a plane in the summer and this, that and the other. But when the more games he plays like that, the less that other stuff matters. People just go, oh yeah. If he does it on that pitch, he can do whatever he wants.
I think he had a similar game when Dunk took charge against Chelsea 3-1. Yeah, I think I think afterwards Duncan explicitly came out and said, I want to mention Alex Iwobi. He was brilliant today, and he does feel like that sort of lad who needs that reassurance and the arm around the shoulder, doesn't he? I remember I went to Huddersfield earlier in the season, and he scored that night, didn't he? And played pretty well. I remember when they all came over at the end, Benitez sort of went up to Coleman and said, make sure Iwobi gets to the front and gets a round of applause. And Coleman grabbed him and put him at the front of the players, and people cheered him. So I think he's someone who needs that, and I think the players are aware that he's someone who needs that level of reassurance as well. Has he been good enough for us? Absolutely not at all. But you do watch him at the weekend, and you watch him sometimes, and you see that number of 5 key passes, and you see that pass he played through to Dom for his chance, and you think that he has got something. He has got some kind of ability. He can carry the ball. He can play a pass. I think his passing in those areas is probably the best part of his game, really. But
I do hate how he passes it with his heel, though. Yeah. He kind of hits the ball here. And he likes to try and curl everything, and it's like, but he has got really good vision.
But I don't know about you as well, but it felt like, because the game was so intense and frantic, it felt like he quickened his play up a little bit.
Got to, haven't you?
Yeah, but he always seems to me like, it seems like he gets anxious if he doesn't touch the ball every half a second when he's got it, do you know what I mean? Like, it's always touch. And sometimes he just needs to probably just calm down a little bit and get his head up and just focus. But now just when you're talking there about him getting his name sung, when I walked up the Gladys Street, there's a fella who had a traffic cone by the statue, and he was singing Alex Iwobi through it. I was thinking, it's just such a surreal day. It's just like, oh my God, I've totally forgot about that happening. But listen, that's got to be a benchmark for him now, hasn't it? But
absolutely,
we've said it so many times about this lad. He's had good games, he's had good cameos off the bench, and we've said, is this it for Alex Iwobi now? Is this the moment he goes on and kicks on for Everton? And it's not been, but it's a start again. He's got himself another start. He's got fans on side saying he's played really well. He's got to kick on from it now. If he gets a chance at Southampton at the weekend, he's got to play as well, if not better. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. It's up to him to go and do it. One person I thought was exceptional, making his first start for Everton, and only his 5th Premier League start since he come from Ajax to Manchester United, was Donny van der Beek, who I thought was sensational in possession, particularly, like you said before, in the first half. He really set the tempo and set the reason. And there was a great tweet on Twitter on Saturday night, and I almost bit at first. Until I read the rest of it, which it was brilliant. I had a little thing with the lad who done it, and he was like, Donny van der Beek's the worst player I've ever seen in Everton shirt. Manchester United, if we're going to buy him, it can be for no more than £2 million and all that. Do
another Dele Alli deal, free transfer.
Exactly. But he was absolutely brilliant. Let's have a look at Van der Beek's numbers. 53 touches, 88% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 4 tackles, and he won 7 out of his 16 duels. He'd had 93% passing accuracy at Newcastle in midweek. But obviously a lot of that was just helping it on and getting it and knocking it and getting it. Where Saturday I thought he really showed an element of control. Brave as well. A lot braver than I thought he would be. I've not seen that much of him, obviously, because United don't play him. And when you seen him for Ajax, he looked really good. I remember he scored against Spurs at Tottenham's ground, and he was brilliant that night. But I think you've always got the Davy Klaassen rule, with the little the little star by it, the asterisk by it, which is sometimes. And David Klassen's a good footballer, he still is. He's doing well again at Ajax, but it's that can they do it in a different team? Because Ajax are very unique the way they play, and people fit into that don't necessarily go on and do it. But I thought Van der Beek, and there is the caveat of don't get attached too much to lone players.
Oh, I've broke that one already.
Okay. And mine is, you're going to need to pull me back, I think. I've broke it as well. And B is that it's early days for him. But I just thought on Saturday there was that element of control. There was that he was quick in the tackle. He was pressing brilliantly. Half the time it is just getting on. You don't even have to win the tackle. But if you press intelligently, they end up just giving the ball away. And he seemed to be at the centre of a lot of things we did really well on Saturday.
Yeah, he reeks of Ajax, doesn't he? Yeah. You know, just everything about him. I just thought you can see the years and years and years of
on the ball.
Oh yeah, you can see everything he did was just what you'd expect from an Ajax player: composure, cerebral, good technically, hard worker. You know, it was all there. And watching him, it reminded me a lot of, and I know they're completely different players, but it reminded me a lot of seeing Gareth Barry play for us for the first time. A player who...
appreciation of how good he is.
Yeah, because before he came to us, and Gareth Barry for me was the ultimate. You've got to see him in the flesh to realise how good he is.
How good he is, yeah.
And I think Van der Beek obviously played a bit deeper than he usually would at the weekend, but it's quite hard to say much more about him other than he's just really good at footy. He's just a really
classy.
He's just a really good footballer. Like everything he does is just. He's never going to be someone who's going to burst past someone with pace or use step overs and bang one in from 30 yards. But just get it, give it. And there's one moment I think in the first half, which I've not seen back, but I remember it stuck in my head in the ground. I think it's probably quite close to where you used to actually, where he had the ball sort of in front of their fans, and two of the Leeds players came over. And I'm just sort of so used to Everton midfielders trying to knock it off the defender and get a throw in or something like that, or panic and lose it. And he just gets his head up, looks over his shoulder, moves the ball with his foot and plays it back into midfield and went away. It's like, that's just a really good basic bit of play. Yeah. And he was just so impressive. Everything he did was just really precise. And the fact that he was playing probably in a 4-4-2 for the first time in his life, maybe as a senior player. Would he have played in that system at Ajax? He played further forward for them. Hasn't really had a kick for United. Netherlands play a 4-3-3. And as you mentioned there, the fact he's not played, well, that was the first time he played 90 minutes in the Premier League. Started 5 games for United in the Premier League. It wasn't as if he was playing for United and not playing well. He just wasn't playing. No. And to get dropped into that situation and play as well as he did in probably an unfamiliar role was really good. And it felt like there was sort of like a natural chemistry between him and Alan in regards to just two good players being on the same pitch together. Because there were times in that first half in particular where Alan went, as he likes to do. Yeah. And Van der Beek just sat, just covered off the midfield. So, dead encouraging debut. Interesting to see what happens when Decore's back. Interesting to see how Ali gets into the team with them as well. But I think, and based on what reports have said and stuff, that Lampard's a massive fan of him. And I think while those others might rotate, fitness permitting, I imagine he'll be in the team between now and the end of the season, pretty much every game.
Just very quickly on that, when we were linked with him, what were you thinking? I was unsure. Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know whether he's the right fit for what we need. But
I think it's difficult when he's not played, isn't it?
Yeah. There was no bar really, was there?
He's not been given a chance. And, Ajax playing a very specific way, don't they? Yeah. And it felt like he was sort of the player that, they had a lot of skillful players, a lot of runners, a lot of their fast plays, and he was the one that sort of just knitted everything together and provided that sort of like a vertical edge in the final third. So I was a massive fan of him when he was there, but it's just sometimes players just come to this country and it doesn't work for them. He's dead impressive, dead impressive, but just a cerebral player, just slows everything down. And I think he is going to be a little bit like Gareth Barry, where it's the intangibles and seeing him on the pitch. I mean, the game in that first 20 minutes was so frantic.
And he coped, didn't he?
Yeah, and he seemed to slow the game down when he got on the board and have options all the time. And to do that when you're playing in an unfamiliar position, first start at a new club, after hardly any footy over the last 18 months, dead impressive, I think.
Frank de Boer said he's a 6. said he's that good he can play in the I'm not convinced he is, but that he's obviously seen a lot of him being at Ajax. He's that intelligent, he can play there.
If he plays in a free when Decore's back, then I think you'll see more of the side of his game that he had at Ajax, wasn't he? Where, you know, the goal he used to always seem to score for them was touch on the edge of the box into space and he's finish. You know, and maybe we'll see more of that.
It'd be lovely to see that midfielder scoring goals for us, wouldn't it? Yeah. Let's have a look at the overall stats of the game from the weekend. Everton 21 shots at goal, 10 on target, which is impressive, incredibly impressive. Leeds had 7 attempts, none on target. Everton 4 big chances, Leeds none. 42% possession to 58. Leeds obviously completing more passes than Everton, 467 to 344. The XG for the game was Everton 3.06, I think. Leeds was 0.26, I think, or something like that.
Actually underperformed our XG.
Just
not good enough, Frank.
Well, the one disappointing thing for me coming away from it was it could have been 6. But that's a nice thing to have, and I hope I'm saying that for the remainder of the season. And we've won. No, we could have and couldn't. But it was just a brilliant performance. Leeds fans were good. They kept on singing all day. Leeds kept on trying to play the way they play, which shows they believe in the managers, what he's trying to do there. But for Everton, from start to finish, was a fantastic day.
Leverton, didn't he? Yeah. Leverton, really, from first minute to last. Never really felt there was any jeopardy, no. Really at all. So, yeah, more of that. Just a great day, wasn't it? You know, it's been ages since there were new songs going off on the Glasgow Street. I couldn't believe it. I was like, it's just felt like it. You know, hesitant to say this after it's been such a tough season, but it did feel like a corner was turned. So, fingers crossed we go to Southampton.
He's had 3 Premier League teams in his first 3 games, Lampard, and Everton have won 2 of them and lost 1. So, at least he knows where they are. Yeah. And, you know, we've scored 7 goals in 2 home games and won the games by 3 goals, which you can't.
Emphatic.
Exactly, you can't ask for more than that. So, absolutely brilliant day. That's it. Big thanks to Matt from the Blue Room. Check out the Blue Room with Matt. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. We're going to carry on Patreon in a minute. If you want to become a patron, the link is in the description. See you later.